Curse or Cure, Part 2. Celeste seemed far too focused on the conversation happening behind the wall to notice my presence. I spoke softly so that I wouldn't startle her. "I see you formerly met the Stone twins." She jolted and spun around to face me. "Oh, Dr. Ephyons, I didn't think anyone was here. What just happened in there? Do you know?" she inquired. I pondered for a moment about what she could be talking about, as I didn't exactly see what happened. I knew that Rima had been failing to take her injections on time. Life was trying for the poor girl, and I believe she was just so tired of fighting. I elected to spare Miss Omada the sordid details of Rinnon Stone and what would happen if she didn't take her medication. Instead, I told her that Rima would fall unconscious if she didn't keep up with her regimen. "Oh no, that's horrible, but I..." Celeste had cut herself off. "Is everything all right, Miss Omada?" I asked her with a mild level of concern. She seemed panicked. Yeah, everything's fine. Still adjusting, I think. Have you seen Loomis and Solsta by chance?" she stammered. I hadn't seen the Goodwill boys in a little while, as I thought they, as well as Miss Omada, were still out. I figured I'd give her somewhere to look so that she didn't have to stay up here with me and the Stones. I'm sure she was uncomfortable enough being in a new place, let alone with a bunch of strangers harboring unknown intentions. I figured that all I could do is give her an out. "Down in the lab. I think they're helping Dr. Saya with something." She would never know that I had lied. Besides, I was sure she would feel relieved to get away from the situation that just occurred up here. She uttered gratitudes before making her way downstairs. "Oh wait, Celeste," I called after her. Before she fully vacated, I wanted to reinforce the fact that she was indeed safe here, along with Solsta and Loomis. "I know things seem strange here, but it really just takes time to warm up to it. Everyone here is rather helpful once you get to know them." Her face kind of twisted. She was shuffling awkwardly. It appeared that I had gone and made her discomfort worse. I'll keep that in mind, thanks," she replied tensely. I let her go without another word. It seemed to me that Celeste and the Goodwill brothers would just have to get accustomed to us on their own terms. Turning to the hidden door that was now concealing the Stone twins, I called out to them. "She's gone. You can open up now." With some hesitation, Rinnon slowly slid the door into the wall and scanned the perimeter around me. He was pale and wide-eyed. As he came to the realization that Celeste was truly gone, he let out a deep breath and turned his attention to me. I looked down and bit my tongue in frustration. You see, I had to lie to Celeste about the Stone twins. Direct order from the head of BIOS Alpha. The physiology and deorientation of the Stone twins was considered top-secret information and could under no circumstances be shared with anyone outside Theta Sector, beyond higher-ups at BIOS Alpha itself. The lying was bad enough, but the fact that Rinnon was causing a scene with the new arrivals may lead them to seeking refuge somewhere else, likely back on the street, holing up in abandoned buildings and other derelict places. I finally was able to bring myself to look Rinnon in the eye. "You two really need to cut this shit out. I can't keep harboring the truth forever." This seemed to strike a nerve with once again bewildered Rinnon. "We never asked to be made this way, Ephyons," he said coldly. I explained to Rinnon the importance of keeping their conditions under wraps. As I tore into Rinnon for his behavior, the growing sobs of Rima echoed off the stone walls surrounding us. Almost as if a beacon for my scorn, I turned to her and told her that she needed to take her shots or her life would be over. She, too, had finally reached a boiling point and had to explode. "I'm so sick of this. I'm so tired of this existence, Theo. Do you know how difficult it is? Living every day in this corporeal hell? It's far more torturous than just letting myself slip away." I realized that I had become far too heated. I spun around and took a moment to breathe before turning back toward them. "You're right," I started. "I don't understand, and I'm sorry for raising my voice at you. You and Rinnon are very important to us. We are all family, and this operation would never be the same without either of you. I just don't want to see you hurt." I cautiously approached Rima, so as not to frighten her. I wrapped my arms around her, and her sobbing subsided. Her breathing slowed, and she came to a state of calm. "Will we get to see them again, Theo?" she asked me. She was talking about their progenitors. Both Rima and Rinnon had come to know them as parents. It was truly heartbreaking, as their progenitors had not been here since the DNA extraction. They were two entirely different beings who knew nothing of each other. The twins had it in their head that they were waiting on a family reunion that would never come. I hated to have to be the one that had to cover up truths. I had no real information to give them about the beings who donated their DNA to us. They had not given names, addresses, anything. The only thing we knew was that one was mortal, like the rest of us, and the other was a Vasker. I truly hope so, my dear. It was evident to me that both Rima and Rinnon were just looking for some family time. You two should come to my place for dinner tonight. I'm sure Zephyr would love to see you. We aren't supposed to, stammered Rinnon before I cut in. Dr. Corvus doesn't have to know, I interjected with a smirk. Later that evening, the final click of the front door signaled the last of the facility members leaving. I had watched as Dr. Corvus drove off just some minutes earlier, and the Goodwills and Celeste had gone off to their quarters for the night, likely talking conspiracies surrounding the overseers. After this, I had set my plan in motion. Walking over to where Rima and Rinnon were sitting, I informed them that I would pull my car around and come back into the facility to retrieve them. Making my way outside, I felt a cold nip in the air, uncharacteristic of the desert we were situated in. I took a moment of pause. My mind was locked on Dr. Saya's revelation. Project Glass Shadow was undoubtedly a bold approach to our unfolding fate as a species. I couldn't help but feel a twinge of fear about the whole thing. I was well aware that we had a mountain of failed projects on our record. Expected, to be sure. When you specialize in experimental things, such as Biosalpha, you are bound to run into negative results. It comes with the job, unfortunately. Many view our work as unscrupulous, and to some degree I could understand the apprehension, especially considering the fear I was currently feeling. I pressed on to my car with a lingering sensation of dread following me like a shadow, stalking in the night. I pulled up to the front of the facility and made my way inside to retrieve Rima and Rinnon. I found that they were waiting near the front door, holding all the provisions they would need for the night. I couldn't help but be reminded of a child starting their first day of school. They looked as though they were lost and awaiting guidance. I smiled and gestured outside. "Your chariot awaits," I said. Rima bore a little smile and gave me a hug as she made her way outside. Rinnon looked terrified to be leaving the facility. I turned and watched as Rima got in the back seat before turning to Rinnon. "I understand this is difficult, Rin, but I assure you that both you and Rima are safe in my hands." He looked at me with the same wide-eyed expression he always wore. He said nothing but gave me a stiff nod. "Zephyr's been asking about you two, you know. She really misses you guys." He looked at the ground in apparent discomfort. "Couldn't you just bring her here?" he asked. I pondered the inquiry. "She gets out a lot more than you two do, trust me. Getting some time away from the lab will do you some good. Have dinner with us. Live a semblance of normalcy, just for tonight, Rin. Indulge me, won't you? I promise I'll have you back first thing tomorrow." I could tell he was fighting with his answer, but eventually he caved in and made his way out to the car, tightly clutching his case. Locking the front door, I made my way to the car and situated myself inside. Pulling out of the parking lot, I made my way down the dirt road and into the swallowing night. As I pulled up my driveway, I could see Zephyr waiting in the front window. Upon seeing my car, I could see her excitement well up. She disappeared from view, and like a shot, the front door was open with her occupying the threshold. She was jumping and waving. As we exited, she lit up even further. "Rin! Rima!" she shouted as she ran out towards us. She careened into Rinnon, who reciprocated her high-energy hug. It was the first time I had seen him smile in quite some time. He had always had a prickly demeanor, but all that faltered when he was with Zephyr. I knew there was room for patience in him. Rima was equally as close with my daughter. The two often discussed their shared interest in reading. I could often hear them sharing details of a land far, far away that I had never heard of. It was beautiful to hear two souls share a similar escape from their daily reality. I couldn't think of two people who deserved peace more than those two. Rinnon was surprisingly helpful with dinner preparations. The night was perfect. It felt as though we were having a family gathering. It was the first time our home felt full since the passing of Zephyr's mother. I didn't have to do much talking that evening, as the air was full of energy and questions being fired around from everyone at the table. Rinnon was doing animal impressions, prompting laughter from the girls. I couldn't help but chuckle myself. It was rather uncommon to see this side of him, full of vigor and life. Enjoying the small things as everyone deserves to. Later that evening, after Zephyr had gone to bed, I sat in silence while Rima and Rinnon spoke to one another. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Rinnon opening his case containing his injections. He took his dose. I felt a wave of guilt come over me. It was because of us. It was because of us that these poor people had to endure life in this manner. I had never been able to understand why BIOS Alpha would take on a project just to appease the overseers. I was relatively new to the facility when Dr. Corvus's predecessor was running things. How he saw the morality in creating something just for it to be killed was beyond my comprehension. His penultimate creation signaled the beginning of his detachment from our outfit. Sitting in my living room was a permanent reminder of our failure. This once again kicked up the fear I had been feeling earlier at the facility and began breeding doubts in my mind about the success of our newest undertaking. A few lab rats weren't enough to convince me anymore that our plan was infallible. Still, what choice did I have? As my fear grew, so too did my determination. It was no longer just about preserving my daughter's safety, but also that of Rima, Rinnon, and everyone at BIOS Alpha. The following day, I would bring this to the attention of Dr. Corvus. I wouldn't want to die in this world saying I did nothing, saying I never tried. As I said goodnight to the twins, I laid awake in bed wondering what the future of our world would look like. I created a perfect image in my head as sleep claimed me for the night. I was awakened by the tantalizing aroma of bacon and coffee, calling me from the kitchen. I pulled myself from the comfort of my bed, and as if driven by a wild instinct, made my way out of the bedroom and towards the siren call of breakfast. As I approached the kitchen, I could hear the sizzling of a hot pan. There was no doubt in my mind now. It wasn't just a dream. There was definitely some cooking happening. Making my way into the kitchen, I found Rima and Rinnon hard at work preparing an all-out feast. They seemed entirely absorbed in their work. They took no notice of me at first. Rima's hair was up in a messy dew as she vigorously mixed up batter for pancakes. Rinnon was meticulously chopping various fruits, his eyes unblinking lest he make a mistake cutting a piece even a millimeter too thin. I figured I would step out so as not to break their focus. As I was about to exit the kitchen, Zephyr came flying around the corner with a glass of juice, narrowly avoiding a collision with me. She looked up at me and smiled.
"Morning, Papa. We're making breakfast," she said excitedly.
"I see that. Thank you, Pumpkin," I replied, reciprocating her energy. Our small exchange drew the attention of Rima, who was now looking at me.
"Good morning, Theo. I figured we'd make a small breakfast so we can get back to the lab before Dr. Corvus."
"A small breakfast, huh?" I said with a chuckle.
"Is it too much?" she asked with a hint of concern.
"It's perfect. Thank you, Rima. Thank you, Rinnon." Rinnon said nothing in return. He just made an affirming sound and continued with his task.
"Why don't you go sit down, Theo? We'll have everything ready soon. Well, assuming Rin has exhausted your whole stockpile of fruits, that is."
As soon as she uttered that sentence, Rinnon ceased his chopping. "Consider the stockpile exhausted," he said gently, setting the knife aside. "Let's eat," he added. The morning was jovial overall. Zephyr was laughing for the first time in what felt like an eternity. Much like the previous evening, the feeling of family and togetherness was strong. I was trying to milk every last second that I could, knowing that I would soon have to slip the stones back into the laboratory. After we ate, we quickly rushed the dishes to the kitchen. I told them that I would take care of them when I returned home. As we rushed towards the door, I knelt down and gave Zephyr a hug.
"Please bring them home more, Papa. I love when they come over."
"I'll do my best, sweetheart. You know that Rima and Rinnon are very busy."
"Do they have to stay at your work because they're sick?"
I had to admit the question caught me off guard, but I did my best to explain to her how they did lots of work and didn't have a lot of time for social niceties. "They aren't sick, Zephyr."
"Yes, they are. I saw them putting medicine in their arms,"
she admitted honestly. "Did you now? Are you worried about them?" I asked her. She nodded with a half-frown on her face. "Hey," I started. She looked up at me with tears welling up in her eyes. "I promise you that they're going to be okay. More than okay. They are happy and healthy. Moreover, they love getting to see you, and I know that they won't let anything get in the way of that, okay?" She nodded and wiped her eyes before giving me another hug. "Auntie's going to be here in a couple minutes, okay? Just sit tight."
I love you, and I'll see you tonight. I smiled at her and made my way to the door. Love you too, Papa, she responded with a little more joy in her voice. Curse or Cure will continue in Part 3.